We're here to celebrate the unique journeys of graduating seniors from this remarkable campus. I am your host, Myco.
And I'm Valerie. Today we have two incredible guests joining us. They're not just graduating seniors, they're twin sisters who have shared this amazing journey at BYU-Hawaii together.
Their story is one of collaboration, growth, and shared success, and we're so excited to have them here with us. You can go ahead and introduce yourselves, whichever one goes first.
Well, I'm Ashley Bull. I'm a senior here at BYU-Hawaii. And an interesting fact about me is I was a competitive cheerleader for a little bit. So, yeah, I got to travel around to do that.
Oh.
And I'm Kristen Bull. We're both actually, she forgot to mention this, but we're both majoring in social work, minoring in Pacific Island Studies. Interesting. Oh, you took my interesting fact. But
We're from Idaho. Like that could be
forgot to say that too. We're from Idaho. Interesting fact, we actually are transfer students, and we did about 2 years at BYU, Idaho.
Okay. So, Ashley and Kristen, it's wonderful to have you both here. Now, we're going to start with a big question. How has your experience at BYU Hawaii shaped your understanding of cultural diversity?
I love it here because it's really like a cultural melting pot. Like I feel like in Idaho you get like the basic mainlanders, you get the people from Utah, from like we had people from Louisiana versus here there's a wide variety of cultures and they all come together in a really beautiful way because I'm meeting people from all over the world that I wouldn't have been able to meet at like a regular college. And so I'm just really grateful for that.
Yeah, just to kind of echo what she said. Because it's so diverse, I feel like there's a lot of humility of like, if I don't understand your culture or you don't understand mine, like people aren't afraid to be like, well, tell me more, like explain more, like teach me more. I want to learn about you. I want to learn about your people. And so I think that's what's been so beautiful here.
Mm-hmm. So, for our next question, like, can you share like a specific moment here at BYU Hawaii that significantly impacted your perspective regarding your studies for your future?
So I guess coming here since we were transfer students, we got our associates and we really didn't know like generally what we wanted to do. We were like, we just want to get a degree. We want to get our college experience over us so we could start working. And I took like a couple intro classes to say, okay, like what is BYU Hawaii about? Like what can I gain? What can I give? And so I took like intro to business, intro to, social work, and then I think intro to some other classes, and I really fell in love with the social work program. And just because we have the multicultural aspect of, I'm not just seeing it from like a United States standards, I'm seeing it also through the eyes of like Filipinos, Samoan, Tongan, like their different experiences help me in order to understand that I want to be able to give back to whatever community I go into, and that by like something that's really stressed is cultural humility, and then also competence of like, okay, be aware of the spaces that you're in and how you're interacting and how that looks to other people and how you view the world and how they view the world.
The first one that comes to mind recently that's just been popping up over and over again is actually a quote from one of my professors, Professor Hippolyte. And the quote goes something along the lines of, we sometimes listen to respond when we should really be listening to understand what people are saying. So that's just kind of been the theme throughout my time here.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I love the experiences that you guys have. So how do you see these experiences influencing your future? Maybe with your future jobs next time when you go into the workforce. How do you see these like experiences or these quotes that you've gained from BYU Hawaii?
For me, just being able to see so many different backgrounds and ethnicities and cultures and all of that stuff, is to be willing to do the research, to put in the groundwork, and understand someone's lived life experiences are different than mine. Does not mean that one's better over one another, but really take the time to get to know that person, see where they're coming from, and then try to see it from their angle.
Yeah, I think also it just gives me a wider perspective. I only see a little bit of the picture. I only have my life experiences and families to fall back on. But here I was able to gain that there's more than how I see the world, that there's more out there. And yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like what you said earlier, Ashley, that being here at BYU Hawaii is very, it's a cultural melting pot, right? Like being here, we are exposed to different diverse culture. Like we are able to see different perspective of people, and we can be able to share those moments with them, and we can be able to understand them on their angles as well. So speaking regarding that, like the spirit of aloha is something that we talk about it often here. So how has it influenced your interactions with peers and faculty?
I guess just treating, sort of like the golden rule, treat others how you want to be treated, and coming in and knowing that this is not my home state. There's a bunch of different cultures that I'm not aware of and how they're going to interact with one another. But it sort of comes back to humility, knowing that no one person is better than the other. Someone has life experiences that I don't have, that I can take from them, that will help me as a future social worker, and it gives me an angle that I wouldn't normally have been able to view, and there's something that I can give back to them. It's sort of like a mutual exchange. It's not one taking more from the other or giving more.
Yeah, I feel like she just summed it up perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what else I could add to that.
Aloha
Right.
is love, like the stereotypical like surface level things.
All right. We love that, and we also agree, since it's like a whole. We don't have, we have different experiences, and you're absolutely right. Like we take some experiences from other people, and we just try to apply them in our lives and try to share them with others as well. And I hope that you continue to do that as you grow out of BYU as well. Well, we'll talk about the challenges now. So college isn't easy. I don't think it actually is
Yeah.
easy at all. So balancing studies, social life, and everything else can be tough. So what challenges did you face, and how did you manage them? Pretty sure maybe it's different for both of you.
Yeah, I feel like we have similar experiences, but yeah. I guess for me, one of the hardest things was being away from family, because since we're from Idaho, we're like 8-hour flight away from home, and so luckily I have Kristen here, because I couldn't imagine like coming and not knowing anyone, not like really. I visited once when I was younger, but yeah, just the experiences I had her to fall back on, which has been a blessing, also a curse. Hey, joking, but yeah.
No, I think for me, especially when I first traveled out here, is I had a really bad attitude. I just did not want to be in college anymore. I switched my major several times, settled on business. I'm like, okay, at the end of the day, business is like one of the most versatile things. I just want to get it done. Let's fast track it. Let's get this out of the way. And so then I really struggled mentally too, coming out, a lot of like depression, anxiety, that kind of stuff. Moving to a new place and all of that fun stuff. Even though I did have family with me, I still was struggling with all of those things. But once I found my purpose, like once I'm like, okay, I need to take a step back, readjust my attitude, figure out what's going on, seek counseling, do what I got to do to make sure that I'm mentally okay and mentally good to move forward. And then just having checks and balances in place. Like Ashley can tell when she's like, okay, something's up with you, like something's
Yep.
not right, like what's going on. And then also recognizing those things, like certain tells, I'm like, okay, I have this going on, or I start doing this, I know something's wrong. And so then really figuring out, okay, what's my purpose here? Why am I here? And constantly reminding myself of that. And then also self-care is huge. Social work, they really emphasize it, because there's a lot of burnout with social workers, because we're taking and we're giving so much of ourselves to others, making sure that we take time to take a step back, even if it's little things like, oh, I went on a walk today, or I went and got a snack or whatever. I went and hang out with friends. It doesn't have to be something huge.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree with that too. Like, I feel like what you said, the dynamic of having a sibling here, like family here, is really good. Funny thing is, both Valerie and I have our siblings here too.
Yeah.
We're not twins,
Yeah,
but
it's not
Hey,
twins.
siblings,
It's
family.
only siblings.
but we
yeah.
have our siblings here, and at least for me, well, my brother just came in this fall, and it's really nice having him here, even if we don't see each other every day because we have different holidays. You can't live with him, you can't live with me, which is a lot. You know, it would be easier if I had a sister because it's easier for her to, you know. But it's really nice having them here and having to tell them like if you have any problems, or they could sense right away that, oh, I don't think you're okay, or I don't think you're, you know what, let's go here, or like let's try to eat, or stuff like that.
It helps having that outside perspective, even like just thinking of like, okay, if Kristen wasn't here, how would I handle this sort of situations? And I'm like, I would find my people, find those certain friends that I know that I can trust, and through like they might not even be from the same place. Like I know a girl from Samoa that I absolutely love, or there's a girl from the Philippines who I'm like, this is like the sweetest person that I know, and I know that if I ever needed anything that I could turn to them. I think one of the blessings about the social work program that we're in is it's really about unity, and then what Kristen was saying earlier, self-care of, if you can't care for yourself, how can you care for others? If you don't care about the job that you're potentially going into, are you really going to be able to give your best effort?
Yeah. I feel like it's all about teamwork, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, going back regarding about that teamwork, like what advice would you give to students who are struggling, like especially as like a social work majors going into that?
Don't be afraid to ask for help. Like, mental health is an issue. It is something that a lot of the older generations in certain cultures will say, you don't talk about it, you don't ask for help, you put your head down and you just strong arm through it, and that's really not a healthy way. We have counseling services on campus that like I've used, I've had several friends use. Mental health is something that will impact you, not just mentally, grade wise, physically. It's an all-encompassing thing, because if you can't, how I relate it is, if you break your arm, you can tell your arm's broken. Like, it's very obvious you have a cast, but mental health is a lot of times harder to understand and harder to break out of those bad habits that we've often, as college students, find ourselves in. Like, the joke of, like, we live off caffeine and ramen noodles. It's, you gotta take care of your physical and mental health together.
Yeah, I love that. How about you, Kristen? Do you have anything you want to add?
Well, just kind of echo is we don't have to, and we shouldn't have to do this alone. I feel like as women, as females, we tend to be like, no, I want to help people. I want to be helpful. Like, I want to do all this stuff. But then when it comes time for people to help us, we're like, no, I'm good. Like, I can figure it out. I'm fine. I don't need help. And it's like, no, like, practice accepting help. That way, when you give it, like, you don't, like, it's, words are hard right now. No,
Yeah.
like, be willing to accept the help.
I like to think from like, okay, if this was my best friend, this is my best friend, and I take myself out of it, I'm like, what would I be doing if she's having these super negative self-talk? Like, if she is just spiraling, how would I help her? And then, okay, if I'm willing to do that for her, why can't I do that for myself? Why can't I go seek that help? Why can't I make those changes in my lifestyle? Why can't I do the things that I need to do in order to be a better person? And then just like getting rid of that negative self-talk is so hard, especially I feel like as women, like Kristen was saying, is we're told, oh, you gotta act a certain way, you gotta do things a certain way, and if you don't, then it's bad. And it's not that way. It shouldn't be that way.
And I definitely understand how, how like challenges like affect us really, and how self-care and being able to understand that you also need help is very like is essential for a college student, because most of the time we're busy with classes and with social life and work, and we just forget that we're also human and we need time off, and so yeah. But how has your time at BYUH changed your views on leadership and service? Just because BYU Hawaii's main thing is, to enter to learn, go forth to serve. So as you both are graduating and we don't have much time as well.
We're both juniors.
It goes by fast.
Yeah,
It
that's
just
true.
goes by. So how can you now, how has BYU Hawaii helped you change your views on how you can better serve people, and how can you, I don't know, maybe take these things that you've learned to your next job or to your future career?
I guess the sense of community is one thing that I don't know why that came to mind, but the lessons that we learn here, they're not just for in classroom practice of like here's the rules, here is how things are done. It's putting into practice and living what we're learning, of living how we I don't know what I'm saying. Cut.
It's okay. Do you want me to repeat it again?
Yeah.
Okay. So how has your time at BYU Hawaii changed your views on leadership and service, and how can you take those views towards the future?
Okay. I think with the service side of things is just get out and serve. You don't need to have like these huge big grand things of like I went out and I single-handedly cleaned up this entire beach by myself. It's a sense of community and coming together with your peers and people from all walks of life, and okay, we're gonna go clean up this beach together. I can only go for 15 minutes, but that's 15 minutes that I would have wasted on my phone or doing something else. But now I'm with a community who we generally have the same values and beliefs, and we can come together and make the world a little bit better.
For me, for leadership and service and all of that, is you don't have to be, leaders aren't necessarily the ones that get up and they direct and they lead. You can be a leader in the back of the pack. You can be a leader in the middle of the pack. Like, people notice things that you would never think they would notice, but it's like the simple little things that build up over time. Like, oh, this person was having a bad day. I said hi, checked up on them. Or I let someone borrow a pen, or I did this. And it's just like little things that we just do unthinkingly, like, okay, yeah, whatever. But that add up over time and that make a huge difference.
Yeah. And I feel like, in the scriptures, we are taught that, small things brings great things to pass, right? I don't know exactly what I'm talking about.
That's correct.
Yeah.
By small
That's
and
correct.
simple things.
Yeah, by small
Yeah.
and simple things. But that's such a meaningful takeaway. But do you see yourself continuing to serve in your own community? Like,
Oh yeah, definitely. I think it's a great way to sort of like, so we're gonna do our internships in Elko, Nevada, in a high school. So we're
Ooh.
working with all different kinds of people and we're going into a community that we have family in, but we really haven't lived there. And so by doing service, you get out there and you see how they live. You see the needs of the people. It's so easy to look at numbers and look and say, okay, like, oh, they're poor, they need this, this, and this. But it's getting there and like actually like hands-on, okay, like what do you need from us rather than what can we give you?
you just, me just hearing you saying that, it makes me so happy and it makes me so proud. I don't know. I feel like I'm not even I don't even know you like this person. But it makes me happy, just because like we're in the same school, living this, what do you call this? Same standards, same values that we know here in BYU Hawaii is putting into us, that we have to go out there and serve people. It's just making me happy and so proud.
Yeah.
So excited for you guys. So, before everything else, as you prepare to graduate, how do you envision the values you've learned here influencing your future decisions? Like talking about values, like,
Yeah. I think it's going to play a huge part in how we interact with the world and the things that we're doing. I think we have a really unique perspective here. I think at the other BYU schools, they sort of, I guess, sugarcoat things and like it's not the real world, versus here we have people who have had hard things happen, of drugs, teen pregnancies, like real world issues that we wouldn't have been able to see in our little, I guess, Utah, Idaho bubble. Here it's like, no, this is not how life is. Everything's not perfect. And I think that was really interesting being in the social work program is like we did one of the classes was like a drug and alcohol or
substance
abuse class. And he's like, this is how the real world is, Brother Ari, I believe. It's like, this is how it is, and this is how you can balance both your values of being in the community, serving them, of being LDS, of like having the church standards that we're trying to follow, and how do you balance the two, because sometimes what the world is and what our church standards are, they're different. And so it's just like being able to like look through both lenses so we can see a more complete picture.
Just kind of, again, I feel like I'm always echoing off of Ashley,
and
but
that's totally fine.
Yeah.
but just people are going to have different values, and that's okay. People are going to do things differently. People are going to think things differently, and that's okay. Stay true to who you are and accept and love the other people for who they are. Like, we're not judge, jury, and executioner. People are going to be doing things that we don't think they should be doing, but that's not our job to judge. Our job here is to love them and support them to the best of our ability, and just be Christ-like examples, to be Christ's hands here on this earth. And he loved everyone, no matter what.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree with your experiences and what you both said about having these values that you got here from BYU-Hawaii, and being able to put them in like a future career next time, or your internships that's gonna happen after you graduate. We've also mentioned a lot about service, and I was just wondering, so while you were talking a while ago and you were talking about your internships and being able to serve and, you know, trying to put yourself in their shoes and just looking at the world differently, can you share like maybe
like the service projects that have had an impact on us? Or
I would say, how have you always viewed service?
Oh, okay. Like, so in comparison from before, like, I also think it comes with age too. Like, your view on service changes. Like, when we were younger, it was like, like, we're gonna go rake some ladies, like,
yeah,
yard.
exactly.
Okay, like, do I really need to be here? There's like 20 other kids. Like, this is like.
Well, almost just to add on to that, it was like a checkbox. I mean, like, when we were young women's medallions, they're like, oh, after so many hours of service, checkbox.
That's so true.
I did my however many hours, and I've read the Book of Mormon through once. Check marks, we're done. Like, that's it.
I already have a medallion.
Yeah.
That's it.
No, we don't need it. Like, we're good. Versus here, I feel like it's getting rid of the checkbox. It's getting rid of, like, the numbers game of, I have to do, like, 30 hours in a semester, I have to do this, and like some classes they require service hours, which like I don't think that's bad, but also it's more so I do service now outside of those 30 hours or whatever it is. I do it because I love it, and because like one of the service projects is working at the gardens here on campus. We were in the taro patch pulling weeds and in the mud and learning how ancient Hawaiians living off the Aina,
and how sacred too the land is, and the taro, like stuff that I would have been like never have learned about. So I'm like, this is fascinating. Like, this is a whole culture, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe one of the workers there was not a member, and he was Hawaiian. To hear like from his perspective, like it was just so cool to be able to do that.
I think service gets you out there and gets you like looking at things from a different perspective.
It also gets you out of your own head. Like, when people are, like, super depressed, or they have anxiety, or they have issues, it's like, okay, take a step back. Go do some service. Like, focus on someone, because a lot of the depression anxiety is focused inwards about what others are thinking about us, what we're doing wrong, or so on and so forth. But getting out of our own heads and seeing, like, no, like, I can do something productive. There are people that I can help and that I want to help.
Yeah. And I feel like that's why we're commanded to do service.
Yeah, there's definitely some instances though where you need to do the self-service, so that comes back to self-care, is doing because how can you help someone else if you can't help yourself?
True.
That's true.
Okay. I love those, by the way. I'm glad they asked the question. But to also wrap up, we want to know, what message do you have for your fellow graduates who are patiently, I don't know what they're going through as well. I'm pretty sure some are anxious, whether we're whether if they're going into the workforce or they're doing graduate school or they're getting married and stuff like that, because there's a lot of things, after 4 years here in college, you kind of, there's two things: you know where you're going, or you're lost. And so I feel like we need advice from both of you.
Ooh, that's a tough. Oh, that's all over the place. My brain is like jumbled right now. Well, the first thing that came to mind when you were asking the question is, this does not have to be the end of your learning. This does not have to be the end of your connections and your friendships you've made. This is not the end all. If you graduated with a degree that you're like, well, I don't know what to do, like, don't be afraid to go back and get more education, to change your path and explore what the world has to offer.
Oh yeah, college, I feel like it's sort of like high school, where you're like, this is the moment in my life, like this is all that there is. And then you get to college and you're like, what the heck, like there's more outside of it. So there's more outside of college than just getting a degree. If you're like, I got this degree, I have no freaking clue what I'm gonna do with it, like I just spent so much money, so much time and effort. It's okay, you may have spent so much time and effort, but look at how you grew. Like, don't look at it, again, a numbers thing. Don't look at, like, now next step is getting a job. It's take that time to reflect back and think, I just did a really hard thing. 4 years plus, sometimes we took a little bit of a longer route because of our transfer and stuff. It's an amazing thing just even being able to graduate. Like, the hours and the time, the sweat, the mental breakdowns and tears and the triumphs. Like, if at the end of the day all you have is a degree or a piece of paper, it means that you were able to do something that you thought that you wouldn't be able to do. And as far as, like, for future students or for future, like, our graduates now,
That means us.
yeah, it's worth it. It may, like, right now you may think this is stupid, like, what the heck am I doing here, like, why I'm like thousands of miles away from family, I'm in a new place, I'm in a new, not even my home country. You have life experiences that you wouldn't have been able to have without coming out here, and good or bad, they're life lessons that you can take and learn and grow, and maybe you can turn around and help someone else who's in a similar situation.
And Kristen and Ashley, I love those things that you said, and thank you so much for sharing your story with us. And I feel like all the things that you said is like the testament of the power of perseverance, the power of service, and the unity, and all the things that the BYUH is trying to help us grow into our lives, and the values that we share right now, and of course the aloha spirit. So
Yeah, we're grateful that you guys were able to join us. And we're so excited for you guys to,
Yeah. Oh my
step into
goodness.
their
Very
new
excited.
world and
Yeah.
a few more weeks.
few more weeks. Actually, yeah, now that I think about it, it's like a few more weeks of graduation.
Yep, almost there.
Yeah.
Oh goodness. Yeah.
All right, but thank you so much for your time, and we're happy that you were able to share these things, and I hope the listeners will be able to appreciate all the advice and all the experiences that you guys shared. But thank you to all our listeners. We hope you've been inspired by the reflections. Let's carry these lessons forward as we grow and serve.
We'll see you guys next week. Thank you.